Good morning everyone, my name's Cyprienne and today we're going to be making this crochet can cozy. It's really easy to make, so if you're a beginner, be sure to give this video a try. All you need to know how to make is a single crochet, double crochet, and chain stitch, and I'm going to be showing you how to work the textured stitch, which is way easier than you would expect. You can make this in a solid color or striped, which is so fun for things like Christmas, Hanukkah, sports teams, birthdays. You could make different stripe colors for when you're having people over and everybody has a different can. There's so many things that you can do with this pattern. Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. Today we are going to be making this cozy in the Bernat Handicrafter yarn. You'll need about 25 grams if you're making a solid color. If you're making a striped version, you're going to need a little bit more of the color that you're making the base of the cozy with. So today I'm going to use the medium blue just because it's easier to see the stitches, and a 5.5 millimeter hook. Now if you don't have cotton yarn, that's not a problem. Use whichever yarn you have. I'm demonstrating today in a worsted weight. If you're experienced at crochet, this stitch looks great actually in any weight yarn, so just adjust your increase rounds and your crochet hook size accordingly, but if you're experienced, you already know that. All right, so I think we are ready to get started, and that's okay. So all we're going to be doing is starting with our slip knot, and then we're going to be chaining 2. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that this is pretty much how I always start my projects. But of course, if you're experienced and want to use the magic circle, that works great as well. You'll just work 6 single crochet into that. So we'll just chain 2. And then we're going to work 6 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so moving on to round 2, we're just going to be working, sorry, I was just looking for my piece of thread. Moving on to round 2, we're going to be working 2 single crochets into each single crochet around. So if you want to follow along with me, you can do that. I am just inserting a piece of yarn to mark the beginning of my round. When you're working continuously, for me, I always need a stitch marker or I lose my stitches. So, okay, let's just go back and make sure that I have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to do 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect. So I'm just going to insert my yarn to mark the beginning of my round, and then I'm going to be working 2 single crochet in the first in each single crochet around. Okay, so I have marked the beginning of round 2, and my stitches are open because I had to rewind and do this over. It was blurry. So we're just going to work 2 single crochet into that 1 stitch. So that's 1, 2, and then we're going to do 2 single crochet in the next. So that's 1, and then you're going to work right back into that same stitch you just worked into, and that's 2, and you're going to continue to work 2 single crochet into each single crochet of round 1. So at the end of round 2 you should have 12 single crochet. So we'll meet up at the end and move on to round 3. Okay, so I just finished round 2. You want to go around and make sure that you have 12 stitches in all. So we'll go ahead and do that and move on to round 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's perfect. So for round 3, let's just insert our thread or our stitch marker to mark the beginning of our round. And for round 3, you are going to be working 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and 2 single crochet into the next. So that's your pattern repeat for round 3. single crochet in one stitch, followed by 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So at the end of round 3, we should have 18 stitches. So we'll go ahead and finish up round 3 and then meet up at the end and do our count and move on to round 4. Okay, so I have just finished round 3. I ended with 2 single crochet in my last stitch, and I have checked and I have a final count of 18. So we can move on to round 4, and this will actually be our last increase round for the base of the can cozy. So we are going to be working 1 single crochet into the first stitch, another single crochet into the next stitch, and 2 single crochet into the next stitch. Now, if I'm moving too fast for you, if you're a beginner, feel free to pause the video, rewind, and also on YouTube, there's a feature where you can slow the video down, so that might help as well. Okay, so moving on, we're going to do 1 single crochet in that next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next, and 2 single crochet here where we've done our last increase. So that is our pattern repeat for this round. You're going to be working 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, followed by 2 single crochet into the next. So I'll finish working around to my stitch marker, and at the end of this round you should have 24 stitches. Okay, so I have just finished round 4 and double checked that I have 24 stitches. So this is going to be the final round of the base of the can cozy, and we are just going to be working a single crochet into that first stitch. Oh, sorry, let me put my yarn in. So 1 single crochet into the first, into every stitch around. So of course, because we're not doing any increases, we are going to still have a stitch count of 24 at the end of this round. So you can go ahead and do that, and we will meet up and move on to the texture. So moving forward, we will be joining our rounds and turning, but we will finish this round for now, and I'll meet up with you. Okay, I just finished my very last round, but before I do my last stitch, I want to show you now how I do my color change, because like I said, I'm going to make the stripe version for this video. So to do my color change, I make the stitch as I normally would, but I finish it with the color I'm changing to. So we're just going to pull the yarn through like I'm doing the single crochet, and then I'm going to start with my navy yarn, and I'm just going to finish my stitch with the navy yarn. Okay, so that's that done, and then we can pull this. Now we're not going to fasten off our yarn because we're going to be working with 3 colors and carrying the yarn. Now I am not very good at crocheting with 3 colors and keeping control of my yarn, so if anybody has any suggestions, I am all ears. Okay, so moving on now to round 6. We are going to be chaining 3 with our new yarn, or maybe you chose to use the same color round, and that's fine too. And we are going to be turning. So what we're going to be doing now, that chain 3 is actually going to count as our first stitch, and we are going to be skipping the next stitch and working a double crochet into the next. So we're going to work, see, that's 1, and we're skipping this, and then we're working in here. Okay, and then this here counts as our first chain and our first double crochet, which that'll make sense when we move on to the following stitches. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this stitch and double crochet into the next. So this is the combination that that starting chain consists of. Okay, we're going to chain 1, skip this stitch here, and work a double crochet into the next. So you can do that all the way, and we will meet up at the end of the round, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I have done all my double crochet and my chains, and I'm here at the beginning of the round again, and I've stopped using my stitch marker because this is easier to see the beginning and the ends of the row. So I've got 1 stitch here left to skip, and what we're going to do is we're just going to join in the space here. Okay, like that, and we're going to chain one just to secure that before we count. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have 24 stitches left, and the easiest way to do that is to count by 2. So this counts as a stitch and your chain counts as a stitch. Now if you remember, our beginning chain counted as 2 stitches because it counted as our double crochet and our chain. So we can start here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. So because this is where we joined. So that is perfect. So moving forward, you want to make sure that you constantly have a count of 24 stitches. It shouldn't be changing, because if it does, that means that your cozy is either getting smaller or bigger. So I'm going to change to the beige yarn now. It's a little bit hard when I've got all these ends in the way, but as we get further away from them, it will get easier. Okay, so to do the color change again, you do it however you're comfortable. This is just how I like to do it. I'm going to start my stitch, kind of pulling it tight so that my ends aren't too loose, and I'm going to finish it with the new color. Okay, and then I'm going to chain one and turn, and then just give your stitches a tug here to keep them nice and tight. Okay, so we're turning our work, flipping it right side out, getting some of these tails out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we are going to double crochet into that stitch. I hope you can see that okay. That stitch that we skipped when we were making round 6. So just double crochet right into there. Oops. And then we're going to chain one. And we're going to work in that next skip stitch under the chain space. We're going to double crochet into that. We're working double crochets all the way around. And then we're going to chain one. And I forgot to flip my work right side out. My husband's on a call and I'm really distracted by his voice. Okay, so we're going to work a double crochet under the chain one again. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way around. So you can go ahead and work that. Just continue to work your chain one, which is here, and then work a double crochet underneath the chain one. Okay, so chain one here and double crochet into the stitch that you skipped. So I'll meet up with you at the end and we'll go on to our next color chain and our next round. Okay, so I have just finished this round and I want to show you here, as we get to the part where we're joining our colors, it is really difficult to see where you ended, where you began. Even though I said earlier it's easier to see the ends of the round, it is, but it's a little mucky. So when I get to this point, I actually go back and just make sure that this is actually where I want to be skipping and joining. And I do that by double checking the amount of stitches that I've made. So we'll just go around and we should have 24. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So that tells me that yes, I am right on track. I have done my, have I done my chain one? Yes, I did my chain one. Now I'll do it over again. And we're just going to join now to the top of this double crochet, and we're going to change to our very first color that we started to use. And I want to mention too, if you're fairly new to crochet, you want to remember to keep putting your yarns to the inside of the cozy so that in the end you'll have a seam going up the back that you won't see the carrying of the yarn, because you've made sure that you're having those on one side all the time. So we are just going to finish pulling this yarn through to complete that stitch. You're going to tug on the beige yarn to make sure that it's nice and tight, and you're going to make sure now that the color you just joined, that light blue, that you didn't pull too tight on that, because if you do, you're going to pucker up your cozy. So you're going to start by chaining one, or end, whichever way you want to look at it, chain one and turn. Move all your threads to the side so that you can see where you're working. And now we're working into the navy blue stitches. Again, this can be hard to see, but this is the top of a stitch here, and this is where you want to work. So you're just going to do a double crochet into that navy blue stitch there. as the pattern goes on, it gets easier to see the stitches. It's really hard just in the beginning rounds. So stick with the pattern. If you have to take it out a few times, it'll be worth it, because once you get the hang of it, it's going to be really easy. And if you have any questions or you're stuck, please post a message below. I'm pretty good at getting back to everyone. Sometimes I'll ask you to send me a photo of what you've done so I can see where things go wrong, and it's actually usually pretty easy to tell. So, okay, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work into the top of that double crochet right there. And this is where you see the texture and the pattern starting to take place. This is my favorite texture to work in stripes. I need to find a new one so I get some variation. And off camera here, this is what's happening to my yarn. So please, if you have any ideas of how to get control over this, I would love to hear them. Maybe if I just separated them and spread them out as I went. Okay, so we're going to double crochet in the stitch below. So this is the same as the previous round. We're just going to continue working chain 1s, and then we work a double crochet into the double crochet below, right underneath that. So into the stitch that we skipped. So go ahead and work that round, and we'll meet up at the end and move on to the next. If you are already experienced, you can just go ahead and work these rounds until you get to round 17. Okay, so I'll go ahead and work my rounds, and then we'll meet up and continue on. Okay, so I am at the end of my round again. Remember to keep counting at every round, making sure that you have 24 stitches. But now we're just going to join, and we are going to change to our navy blue yarn. And then you're going to chain 1, just give this a little tug so it's nice and tight. And we're going to turn, flip this right side out, and continue working our pattern. So moving forward, you're just going to be working a double crochet into the double crochet below, the one under the chain 1 stitch, chain 1, and then work in that stitch again. So that's your pattern repeat for the rest of the cozy. I'll pop those instructions above so that you can pause the video and work ahead. So what you want to do now is work to round 17, but this stitch can be a little bit tricky for counting your rounds. So what I actually recommend is that you work it until your cozy measures 4.5 inches from the bottom up. So the reason we're doing 4.5 and not the full cozy is because we still need to come back and close these holes, and then we'll be doing a finishing round. So go ahead and work that. Remember, you want it to reach 4.5 inches. Well, depending, actually, at this point, at this point, if you want to make your cozy any taller, say you like to drink tall boys or have larger drinks, water bottles, etc., at this point, this is when you continue adding on the rounds to get the height you want, and then we'll come back and close them up. So let me know in the comments below how you're making out. Are you seeing your stitches taking place? What colors are you using? Are you enjoying the video? If you are, maybe give it a thumbs up. If you're loving it, maybe subscribe. But anyways, I will be back very soon to finish this up with you. Okay, so there we have the base of our cozy. How does everybody like it? Anyways, we're just going to go on now, and we are going to finish off by closing up those holes. So I'm just going to do my final color change. I snip my other yarns because then I don't have them in my way. And for me, I'm ending off with my navy blue yarn, which I'm happy with. I'm not sure how I feel about this color combination yet. In my mind, it looked a lot nicer. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing is chaining 1 and turning as we've been doing so far. We are going to work into that double crochet again, but this time instead of chaining, we are going to work back into the chain space a single crochet. And that's going to help to fill that hole. So you're going to work a double crochet followed by a single crochet into the space. No chaining this time. If you chain as well, you'll be adding stitches. So we're just going to go directly into that double crochet, work a double crochet, and single crochet into the space. So you can do that all the way around, and we'll meet up at the end and finish it off. Okay, so I have finished this round. The last thing I am going to do is just to join to that first stitch, and then we are going to work a final round of single crochet or reverse single crochet. So when you're working the final round, as you can see, I just changed my color. That's really so that you can see it on camera, because you can't see the navy blue that well. So you can choose, of course, any color you want for the final round. So I'm going to show you how to work the reverse single crochet, because I know that you already know how to work the single crochet. And I'm just pulling my yarn tight there for my color change, tucking that in. Okay, so all we're going to do for the reverse single crochet is insert the hook to the opposite way you normally would. So normally you would work right to left, so you're going to work left to right. You're going to insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull it up, and finish your single crochet. So we'll do another one. In that next stitch there, you're going to insert your hook, pull back your yarn, and finish your single crochet. Do the next one, insert your hook, pull back the yarn, and finish your single crochet. And then that gives it that nice twisted look. So I'll finish doing that, and that's pretty much it for the video. So let me know underneath what you thought of it. How'd you make out? Anyways, that's everything for now. Thank you so much for making me part of your day. My son's calling me, and I'll see you soon.